What's up guys, we're back with another plumbing video, and today we have a Powers shower diverter. This one is definitely old and crappy, a little worn out. So I'm just gonna kind of take it apart, show you what is in it, and I'm gonna replace it with all new parts, but just gonna kind of show you the process. If you've never seen a Powers or if you've never done it, this might help you out a little bit. So obviously what we're gonna start with is you're gonna take the handle off, take that out, and then usually there's like a little cover here on them. This one is just absolute shit, but you're going to want to peel that off, whether it's a sticker or it could be a cap that you pop off, and behind it there's typically two flathead screws, or there could be Phillips heads, but there are two screws on each side that will hold in this plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, and then I'll show you what's behind it. So I will mention this when it comes to taking off these handles. If somebody did not put grease on this connection here prior, or say this has been on there for a really long time, this handle can get stuck really bad. And what you might have to do is you might end up having to cut it off, drill it out, something. It can be a pain in the ass sometimes. So just know that this handle might not come off as easy as you think it is. I mean, it does just kind of sit on there like that, so it should pull straight out, but just wanted to give you a heads up. But once you get the handle out, you do have these two screws here that hold on the plate. So I'm gonna take that out. So once you get that cover off, this is typically what you're left with. This actually looks relatively newer, or it might actually just be in good condition still. But it's only held on by 4 screws. You got 2 flatheads and 2 flatheads, 2 top, 2 bottom. This is what the plate is screwed into here. So you ain't really have to worry too much about that. It's kind of easy. And there's this little stopper here on the bottom that lets the shower stop when you get to the hot and then stop when you're off. So that's how that works. So if you take these 2 off, you might get a little bit of water behind this. Remember to have the water shut off when you do this. Typically, if you have a typical shower, you should have 2 shutoffs right behind this cover. The hole might be a little bit bigger. This case, the valves for this were in the downstairs, and I'm in the upstairs. So make sure you have the water shut off. You can always test by running the water, and if you have nothing coming out, then you know the water is shut off. So I'm going to take that cover off, and then there will be a little black piece behind this, and that is typically where the water comes in. And you can get trash in there, and sometimes it might clog the water up. You might have a little bit less pressure, things of that nature. So I'm gonna pop that off, and then we'll continue. So once you get this out, make sure this doesn't fall anywhere. This is basically just like a little refrigerant bulb, and this kind of tempers it so that you don't get scorching hot water. So make sure that doesn't fall into the tub or wherever the hell it goes. Just remember that there is still water that is in the shower head lines, so it may drain out. So you will probably get water that comes out as soon as you take this off. So I just wanted to give you a heads up before you start into that. But this here is the little black piece that I was talking about. Again, if you were to not put grease on this, this piece may not come out very easily. You may end up breaking it. Sometimes you can kind of spin it, maybe with some needle nose or something. You might end up breaking these off. But if it ends up getting stuck in there, what you might have to do, you can drill in a couple screws and try to pry it out with some channel locks or something. Or you might just have to drill it out piece by piece, which can suck a lot. So this is why I always recommend putting a little bit of that plumber's grease on everything, because it'll help for the future when you go to take it out. That way things don't get stuck. So I'm gonna see if I can't get this out in one whole piece, who knows, but I'll continue on once I get this out. So as you can see so far, this obviously isn't going the way it should. This piece does not want to come out, so I'm going to go ahead and get some screws into it. Maybe I can spin it and break it free. I've already broken off each of the tabs. I got one left that I can try to kind of pull from with some channel locks, but it's definitely not working how it should. So I might have to bust this thing out of there. So you got to be careful that you don't, jiggle it too much and mess up the pipes. But just so you know, this could be a potential issue for you. So this kind of shows you what I like to do. I get 2 self-tappers in here that are relatively long, and I can get some channel locks or some needle nose or something, and then I can try to go ahead and spin this, you know, like that. And that kind of breaks it free a little bit, and it gives me something to grab onto that shouldn't pull out, because these break a lot. So I'm gonna continue pushing this thing out, and hopefully we get it out here soon, and then we can move on. So I was able to get it out this way by screwing in here and spinning it a little bit, and then being able to pull from these screws. As you can see, if they're long enough, they kind of give you a little bit more stability. But this is what it looks like coming out. This is where your water comes in. But you're gonna wanna make sure that when you get this out, as you can see, there's a little bit of trash in here. You're gonna wanna get that out of there. Sometimes it's easier if you have a shop vac, that might help. But if you have the water connections like here and here, you can actually just kick them on real quick, and it'll blow a lot of that trash out. So that way, because sometimes when you have to break this out of there, this piece here will get stuck all the way in the very back, and you'll have to drill it out or something, and then that trash can actually get behind there, and it's hard to get like a finger in there or anything like that. So sometimes it's easier just to blow the water out. But this is the piece that you're gonna get out of there, and then that way you have a replacement piece, and then you can move on. So here's the new one now. I already got some grease on it. Make sure you have your 2 O-rings on these 2 pieces here, and all it does is it just goes right back in, and you'll just need to push it with a little bit of force, but you'll know when it's in there because it'll click, and it'll be nice and tight. Now you might have to give this a little bit of persuasion to push it in there. Might have to use some channel locks or something just to really get some even pressure pushed on there. Another thing that you could do if you're having troubles pushing this in is you can technically use this piece and set it in there, and then you can go ahead and tighten it through the bolts. That is an option if you're having problems, if say you just can't physically push it, but otherwise you should feel this just like kind of clip into place, and you'll kind of see it too. Kind of hard to catch it on camera here, but you'll know when it's in there. It's very obvious. So right now I got it in, and so then all we have to do is just put this piece back on. So I have a nice new one here. The only thing I transfer over is this little refrigerant bulb. But all you're gonna want to do, first process, you're gonna put this back in the hole, and then also don't forget, I got it here, you're gonna put a little bit of grease on that that O-ring there, because it's gonna want to seat onto this here. And make sure when you put it back on, have this little tab here, will be on your bottom right. That's where you want that tab to be. So go ahead and put the screws back in it, and have this piece here, and we'll go on from there. So once you have this back on, what I like to do before I turn the water back on is you put the handle on it and turn it all the way off. Just go as far as you can to the right, so that way it's completely off, and then you can turn the water back on and make sure that it's working properly. That way, you can go ahead and once you get the water on, here we go. But that way, once you get the water on, you can go ahead and turn the water on like that. So I just like to keep it all the way off first. You don't have to do it, that's just how I do it. But we're gonna go get the water turned on, and then we'll leak test it. So once you have the water back on, you're obviously gonna wanna test it. I've got my shower head here. But you'll just start off by, so I got it right now on cold water. And obviously shower head is working. And you just wanna make sure that you test it cold and hot. And make sure you're getting cold water out and hot water out as you slowly get higher and higher. So once you verify that it does get hotter as you spin it out, try to do a full rotation to about here. This should be where your hot is, and then it slowly gets colder as you go back to off. So once you verify that, there comes with this little pin here that you can lock it so that way it doesn't go any hotter than a certain temperature if you want. Obviously, if this is off here, you gotta find the right spline. But if this is off, you can change it so that it only goes, so if it starts here and it goes around, it stops here, and it won't go any hotter than that temperature. If you don't care, you don't really need it on there. I typically like to keep this as close as possible to it if I can get it on the one closest to off. That way there's still a good rotation. It's not necessarily crazy if you do or don't. That's just like where I like to keep mine. There is also a little O-ring, so you'll put that on there. Now if you do get a replacement cover here and you put the foam on, you want to make sure the foam goes on the top, and the way you tell is there's this little hole down here. This is where water is supposed to seep out if it does happen to leak. Now this is really easy to put on. It's just 3M tape and a little seam here, but once you do have it on, very simple. It's just going to go right over where it had it before. Obviously I'm going to clean up all this first, but then this will go on, and then you'll recaulk around the top and just make sure you don't cover up this hole. But as what you'll do, you put this back on, and then you'll go ahead and do the rest after that. Now there are a couple different things that you could have with this. You could have one that's just 3M taped here, or it comes with like this little lock ring. This lock ring one, super easy. All it does is you just push it in there, and then once you put it on here, you'll just go ahead and push it on like that, and that'll cover up your screws, and this will tell you, start cold and you work your way up to hot. So that's on like that, and then all you got to do is take your handle, and for me, I like to put it upwards, because that way people know that when you start, this is off, you start on cold, work your way up to hot. Because if you put it on upside down, some people might think you start hot and work your way to cold. So I just like to put it up like that, and then that way it's easy to remember. Nobody can forget. So once you have your screw back in your handle here, all you're going to do is just double check it one more time. You can go ahead and start getting cold water. When it comes down, works its way up to hot. And then right here is where my stopper is kicking in, so that is the hottest it'll go. So it's just nice to check it before you're done. And then once you're fully done, you can go ahead and clean up all this, put some clean up all the old caulk if you have it. You don't have to do it, it's all up to you. I like to put caulk, so I'll clean this up and then I'll make it look nice again. But that's all you have to do when it comes to a Powers shower diverter. So I hope this helps you guys, and see you in the next one.